The World Wide Web. It has changed the way we work and live, and given us a new underworld. They have their own culture, their own technology, and their own languages. They can operate from anywhere, but their real home is cyberspace. This is the inside story of the new spies, crooks, and opportunists we call hackers. "24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A battle is waged on the internet. Dennis Treese leads an international team of virtual security guards, ready to spot and neutralize any attack.
This is the Global Threat Operations Center. This is where we monitor the hacker threat 24 hours a day on 4 continents.
Minute by minute, hour by hour, specialists monitor systems, analyzing any abnormalities they encounter. While most are routine occurrences, any one could be the first sign of a crippling attack.
We had just about 400 pre-attack probes in that hour. 1,500 denial of service attacks in that hour.
In the last year, the team has intercepted 83 million hacker attacks aimed at the corporate networks they protect, all over the world.
Key is flying through an asteroid belt all the time. He's constantly being inundated with, decisions to go around these things, up, over, etc. What is it? Is it going to hit the ship? And if it does, is it big enough to do us any damage? It's a computerized game. The bad guys against the good guys, if you will.
Internet surveillance teams developed after a series of high-profile incidents over the past 20 years. One of the first was launched by the now legendary Captain Zap. His target, the computerized billing system at American telecommunications giant AT&T.
The telephone rates are too high, just in general. So why not reduce the rates for some people? Or all people.
Captain Zap went looking for a way to break into the phone system.
We would go dumpster diving at the phone company offices late at night, because they don't throw out food, they don't throw out garbage, they throw out manuals. A huge box of weather-protected data that I can come after and get from you. It kind of gives you a good snapshot view of their daily existence, morning, noon, and night.
Underhanded intelligence, a hacker's ammunition. Captain Zap got to work.
Sit down in front of the terminal, turn it on, and start hacking. And spend hours and hours trying to get in. And then once you got in, you were, do you want to play a game? Well, you would dial into their maintenance ports. And because there was no protection back then, the maintenance ports would automatically answer. The system would come up and identify itself as, "Hi, this is the Ardmore switch, number 5 ESS, log on, password, guest, you're in."
Ian Murphy, alias Captain Zap, believed himself a modern-day Robin Hood, an electronic outlaw.
We decided that we were going to change the clocks and the switches around the country so that everybody got free long distance or discounted long distance.
Captain Zap changed the clocks on the national telephone charging system, giving everyone discounted calls during peak time. In hacker terminology, he owned it. Inside AT&T's computers, day became night, and night became day.
We changed their clocks so that there was an exact 12-hour difference.
Millions of callers started saving money at the telephone company's expense.
Ian was one of the pioneers. Ian was one of the first people to recognize the bad things that you could do with computers. He didn't have a lot of people going before him that he had to emulate. Now, he's sort of an original. Now, he's one of the first generation of hackers, the people that figured out how to do it when figuring out how to do it was really difficult.
The AT&T break-in would be the first of many. Ian Murphy had discovered he could hack into almost anything from almost anywhere.
According to Wired magazine, the top hack ever done by any hacker was the AT&T time clock hacking. They consider that the finest hack ever.
NYPD Sergeant Jimmy Doyle runs New York's computer crime squad investigating electronic break-ins. To him, hackers like Captain Zapp are nothing new.
Basically what you have is an individual that may do web defacements, break into that website, change the page a little bit. That would be the equivalent of graffiti artist. Then you have someone that would break in to steal something, a burglar. Go up a little bit more, someone who wants to commit crime. He's going to use his skills to steal money. And as you see, you're going up and up. And then I guess at the top of the pile will be the cyber. Someone wants to create a great amount of fear through their skills by taking down power grids or attacking financial institutions. They would be the top of the pile.
But tracking cyber criminals is not easy. The internet world is nameless and faceless. Ian Murphy's phone company break-in was only discovered when the next set of telephone bills went out, weeks after it had happened. By then, he'd disappeared into cyberspace. He wasn't caught for 18 months. Because the internet was in its infancy, the American government had yet to introduce strict laws prohibiting such acts. For his part in masterminding one of the most notorious cyber crimes in history, Murphy was sentenced to 1,000 hours of community service. Criminals used masks to hide their faces as they burgled and robbed. But the internet has given hackers a new way to conceal their identities.
From crime as way back is when you would have your Western robberies and someone will run in, they would try to stay anonymous. They would put masks on because it'd be hard to identify themselves. Now if you take that and fast forward it to the year 2002, it's the same basic principle. I mean, you don't have a person putting on a mask, they're sitting behind a computer.
At least one cyber criminal hides behind both a mask and a monitor. KP knows British police want to speak to him about an electronic break-in at a mobile phone company. This hacker went one step further than Captain Zapp. He increased the bills of anyone he didn't like.
I did look up several people that I was having a disagreement with at the time, trying them through that database, and made several slight changes to the billing records, but nothing so conspicuous as to be noticed. Turning their service off, having them blacklisted. It was great. I was sat up until 4 or 5 in the morning just knowing that I was the one person that was doing what I was doing and nobody could even come close and touch me.
The forensics team at the New York Police Department Computer Crime Squad traces and identifies hackers using the electronic equivalent of fingerprinting. When it comes to cyber break-ins, computers themselves are the scene of the crime. Suspects' drives are routinely seized or cloned in the hope that they will provide detectives with a history of a hacker's actions and targets.
What we do on occasion is either go in and use these devices to make an exact copy of the suspect's hard drive and then bring it back here for analysis.
They think they're protected by this screen, but it's pretty much, it's like chasing the invisible man. Even the invisible man leaves a footstep or two, a footprint or two, and you follow along.
A growth in the number of online outlaws has prompted the New York Police Department to beef up its computer crime squad. It's now the department's fastest growing unit.
Okay, let's go get bad guys.
But just as these digital detectives have developed hardware to trace cybercriminals, hackers all over the globe, masterminds like KP and Captain Zapp, have developed their own software.
I scan networks 24 hours a day. I have a computer sitting at the flat on a clock basis that dial up using 4 different phone lines and look for codes for me, and I come back, get in, see what they found, and you're going to find that security hole that nobody else will find, and you will get in and you will exploit that.
In the fight to stop illegal hacking, the constant exchange of information is crucial. So the team at Internet Security Services Global Threat gathers every morning for a live briefing. They share worldwide intelligence with the FBI and other colleagues all over the globe. Constant communication is vital. New threats appear all the time. Every vulnerability is open to exploitation. Every day they assess the risk level.
Software development is being done in India is actually going to...
Okay, great. So we'll notify everybody that we'll stay at 1-1.
Are we at 1-1?
This morning, they've set the alert at a routine level 1. But even without an impending threat, systems that don't have basic protections, such as firewalls or encryption software, are still vulnerable.
At AlertCon 1, an unprotected computer will be compromised within 24 hours of connecting it to the internet.
Dennis's team fights off hacker attacks at the rate of 2 every second. The rise in internet exploitation has given birth to a new profession: ethical hackers. Some big businesses pay those, like 26-year-old Brian Holyfield, to break into their own computer systems. Brian and his colleagues are called the Tiger Team.
A Tiger Team is a group of computer security professionals that a company hires to try and break into their networks from the internet. And the reason they do this is that they want to make sure that they can identify all the potential security issues. That way they can minimize the risk of someone that's an enemy of the company, for example, doing the same thing.
Brian's job is to lie and cheat his way to any information he can find. Today, with the blessing of his client, Brian prepares to assume a new identity: Will, the hacker.
Hi, Jim. This is Will Rogers over in IT. How are you? Doing good, doing good. You got a couple minutes, or did I interrupt? Is this a bad time? Okay, great.
Brian's mission: to trick unsuspecting employees into revealing their passwords. He tells them he's from the company's own IT department and pretends he's checking their passwords are suitable for a network upgrade. None of it's true.
It's really designed to make your life a little bit easier.
Surprisingly, the technique frequently works.
The way we're going to implement this system, it might restrict the type of characters and whether it's letters or numbers that you can use. So for example, what exactly is the password that you're using, and I'll see if it'll actually work with the system we're going to implement. Okay.
Brian has successfully convinced numerous members of staff to reveal their passwords. He can now use them to unlock the company's secrets.
You can do a lot of damage with the information that we see, and there's a lot of privileged information that we see on a day-to-day basis. So you've really got to have a strong sense of ethics. We could obtain, let's say, access to a company's credit card database. Well, you know, your typical hacker out there is going to take the credit cards and try and sell them somewhere and make a profit off of it. We're not.
The emergence of ethical hacking as a legitimate way to earn a living amuses seasoned hackers like Ian Murphy.
Ethical hackers don't have the mindset. They are above board, nice people. You hire an evil, rotten if you want a job done. All right, it comes down to this. Dirty deeds done really expensive. And that's the way it should be. You know, learn to hire the thief to tell you how to steal something. Don't hire a cop.
But 70% of hacker attacks are never reported to the police. Instead, many of the biggest businesses turn to private detectives. Like Alan Brill.
Okay, well, I'm on the way. I'll be there as soon as I can.
Day and night, Alan and his team are poised with mobile hacker detection kits, helping corporations stop the hackers and keep the break-ins quiet.
We work for the corporation. We can help them to understand without having to go to government. Once you go to government, they really control the case. Will they take the case? Who's going to prosecute it? What publicity will there be about it? In this day and age of volatility in the markets, that's not always something you want to take a chance with. But you can't afford not to know what happened.
Their job is to out-hack the hackers, breaking passwords, cloning hard drives, seizing suspect drives. Alan's computer forensics team is made up of people who could easily have put their own talents to use illegally.
There is a difference. The difference is this. I think the typical computer forensic specialist is somebody that has that skill set, but whose moral compass has rusted on good.
But while their goal is to root out and neutralize vulnerabilities, some investigators choose to keep quiet about the hacker attacks that do get through.
Absolutely. There's a lot more that goes on. A lot of people, you know, job security, they're in fear that, you know, if their boss finds out that they left a vulnerability open in the system, upper management might not understand.
Anxiety among computer security professionals is now so great, every year, hundreds of them sign up for special instruction. Extreme Hacking Class. It's where the ethical hackers and systems administrators come to learn the latest tricks of the trade.
If you can't think like the hackers, then you can't figure out what it is they're trying to do. Probably my biggest nightmare would be that hackers breaking into my network and publishing financial information or something about my company. What would happen to me? Would get yelled at a lot, probably get fired. Seriously.
While James worries about keeping his job, Pete White, his fellow student in the Extreme Hacking class, has work anxieties too. Pete's responsible for keeping hackers out of confidential patient data in a Houston hospital.
It's my job. We're responsible for making sure that being in a hospital environment, that patient data doesn't get out to the general public. Your reputation is based upon your ability to keep patient data confidential. And if we violate that, then we're not in business very much longer. It would make for a very bad day.
Brian Hollyfield is one of the teachers. Within a couple of hours, he and his team have got the students hacking.
They are hacking, and they are also learning how to protect against each hack that they carry out. They are real-world examples, and we're always updating the material so that it accurately covers what's happening out in the wild.
The bad guys have to find one way in, the good guys have to find all the ways in.
4 days later, Brian and his colleagues have trained a new team of security specialists. Now, the teachers just have to hope none of their graduates will swap sides.
Using it for bad, I don't do that. I mean, I don't understand why you would, what's the thrill of going and breaking into someone's systems,
But around the globe, the ranks of illegal hackers are expanding, and they understand the thrill only too well. The ethical hackers have to be ready for an attack from anywhere. At the Global Threat Center, all attention is suddenly drawn to Internet intelligence expert Carter Schoenberg. He's spotted something strange. A major electronic pipeline carrying the Internet's traffic is being slowed down by a suspected hacker attack. It looks like it's following the time zones across the Pacific.
Indonesia is pretty much getting slammed. Appear to be starting the Pacific Rim, making its way towards North America. South America still seems to be okay, but it seems like it's making its way towards North America.
It's a possible attack on the infrastructure of the Internet itself.
It appears that for whatever the reason, whatever this causes, it's moving with the sun, starting in the Pacific Rim, making its way towards the U.S.
You're witnessing trench warfare on the Internet.
Experts in the U.S. fear such a major disruption could hit at the start of a working day, affecting millions of people.
If it hits the North American continent like it's been hitting everybody else, and then anybody that has an attachment to the pipeline, any pipeline, would probably see some significant degradation.
All traffic relying on the suspect Internet pipeline could fail. Carter makes an urgent check call to their sister station in Southeast Asia. As he does, the pipeline instantly recovers. The incident is over, gone as quickly as it came.
It was just one of these anomalies, but it's an anomaly that when it happens, we were on top of it right when it occurred, and we were able to bring it to everybody's attention.
It's unclear if hackers were involved, but for several minutes, it looked like exactly the kind of attack Internet security specialists fear most. A major attack in an information war that could paralyze the Internet. For much of the 1990s, the computers of the United States military were defended against such an attack by a team led by Bob Ayers.
I was director of the U.S. DoD Defensive Information Warfare Program. So if you think of the security program as keeping individuals out, think of the Defensive Information Warfare Program as designed to keep nation states out of DoD systems.
Electronic espionage and sabotage are some of the latest tactics used by governments worldwide.
127 nation states have an active offensive information warfare program underway.
In the mid-1990s, one of the United States' most secret military projects, the stealth bomber, became the target of hackers. Information began to leak out about its highly sensitive specifications.
Extremely sensitive. It's sensitive to this very day. At the time, the existence of the aircraft was known. However, any of the characteristics, or indeed even the image of the aircraft itself, was not known. So it was an item of high curiosity.
The secrets of stealth technology were held on computers at the Rivers Air Force Base in New York State, home to the U.S. Air Force Research and Development Laboratories.
A system administrator at Rivers Air Force Base in New York noticed the attacks taking place. He noticed it 3 days after they began. And as soon as he noticed it, he reported it to my organization, and the reaction process then began.
They knew someone was hacking into the secrets of the stealth project. But who was the culprit? And where was he hiding? Rendered virtually anonymous by the Internet, illegal hackers operate all over the globe. With an arsenal of electronic weapons at their disposal, they break into some of the world's most powerful companies and institutions, stealing top-secret information and wreaking havoc on computer networks. In the mid-1990s, the latest victim was the US military. An unauthorized user had access to Air Force computers and the highly sensitive specifications of the military's most secret project, the stealth bomber.
There was a great deal of concern evidenced by these attacks because the U.S. didn't know where they were coming from.
Was this insider activity? It's always the first question of electronic security specialists.
The problem is hackers typically come through multiple launch points, and so they kind of play hopscotch on the internet. You see typically the last IP address that they came from into your network, and that'll resolve back to some computer that they have hacked into and taken over for the purposes of masking who they really are.
It was very difficult to go back through the chain of hops to find the actual source. So the technical attempts to, in the terms of the day, to hack back to find the source failed.
Who could have wanted such information? The immediate suspects were hostile foreign powers. But in fact, the hackers who got under the radar of the world's most sophisticated spying technology were teenagers sitting at home in London.
The young men that were launching these attacks, they didn't go from London, which is the environment they were in, directly to New York. They'd go from London through South Africa, through Mexico, and then to the United States.
Technology in the global hacker community has expanded rapidly in the years since the stealth bomber leaks. At that time, the US Department of Defense calculated the total number of intrusions into its systems. The figure was extraordinary.
Over 250,000 times in 1995, someone other than a DoD employee was in charge of a DoD system. Now, if that isn't the foundation for an electronic Pearl Harbor, I don't know what is.
Each new technological development brings new vulnerabilities. Chris O'Farrell is an ethical hacker who protects US government systems and sees himself as a frontline soldier in a never-ending daily battle.
Definitely there's a battle between the black hats and the white hats. It's an ever-ongoing battle. It's like digging a hole in the sand. The more and more you work, the more and more it fills up. Vulnerabilities are found every day.
Today, Chris is heading for the heart of the US government's electronic nerve center to expose a new entry point for hackers created by the growing use of wireless networks.
We use the same techniques, methodologies, and all that hackers use in order to basically secure networks for the U.S. government, financial institutions, and other types of agencies.
Countless corporations and government agencies worldwide use wireless networks. While they may streamline communication, they also make critical systems vulnerable.
All that you need to put together a war driving rig is what they call it. I have a GPS receiver. I have my antenna and my wireless card, which I pieced together here. You can tell it's been used quite a bit.
What Chris calls a war drive is an electronic fishing expedition looking for vulnerable wireless networks.
Every time you hear a beep on the computer, you know it's another wireless network. There you go. I just found a couple. And up on Capitol Hill, you'll just start going crazy. It'll sound like a pinball machine here. There's one. Got another one. Every building around here is a federal building. All right, right in front of the federal building, we just got another network. And
with every beep, Chris knows he may have another opportunity to hack into another network.
right now I have 20 networks on my computer. Out of the 20, only 6 of them have encryption. It would take me probably about 20 seconds out of 14 out of the 20 networks for me to reconfigure my wireless card and enter these networks. They can spend millions of dollars on security, have firewalls, and have all kinds of internal policies, but it only takes one person with one wireless access point to plug in. Anybody sitting where I am in my car right now can break into a government network in about 20 seconds. Well, what I've seen today, it really disturbs me. I don't understand why there's wireless access points beaconing out these signals out onto the roads, out into the parking lots of these government buildings in Washington, D.C.
But hackers don't have to be within city limits to engage in an information war. The internet's global reach means that hackers can attack from anywhere in the world.
for the sake of healthy development of China-US relations.
Following the collision between a Chinese fighter and a US spy plane in 2001, angry hackers from China launched an electronic war against US systems.
Chinese hackers banded together, and for a period of a week, they showed solidarity and compromised over 10,000 US systems in a period of a week. So we saw that basically a loose group of hackers with one common political motivation can cause significant damage.
The first wave of attacks was followed by the release of a new type of virus, an attack worm. It became known as Code Red.
Viruses spread among computer systems just the way cold spread among, grade school classrooms.
Code Red imitated the actions of a hacker and used compromised systems to break into other systems.
Significant portions of the internet were either disabled or infected as a byproduct of the rapid propagation of the Code Red worm.
This propagation was so dramatic and so fast, and the cascading effect of hundreds of attacks coming from each infected computer simply overwhelmed the internet.
Code Red was set to stop and start when internal computer clocks hit certain dates and times.
We noticed that, okay, it stops propagating when the system clock in the computer turns to the 20th of the month. It begins a new phase of activity, and that phase of activity, as we discovered, was to launch a distributed denial of service attack against the White House website.
Investigators in the US traced the virus back to a university in Guangdong, China.
In the last line of the software code, it says, hacked by Chinese.
The release of the Code Red virus had a lasting impact. It dramatically slowed, and in some cases crashed, critical systems of businesses and institutions around the world. Experts estimate it has cost over $2 billion to clean up the mess that Code Red left in its wake.
Code Red was potentially a test to see if automated InfoWar would work. If other key components of the internet infrastructure had been targeted by Code Red instead of just a web server, we could have seen massive amount of damage.
It was the most serious episode in the health of the internet in the history of the internet.
Cyber terrorism is seen as an inevitable threat for the future. But today, the majority of hackers who break into high-profile sites don't really mean any harm.
Department of Defense in the United States, of course, is like the Mount Everest of the targets that you can go after. I planted my flag in a Pentagon computer system. That's a wonderful thing. They really didn't want to hurt the Pentagon computer system. They didn't want to look at any information. They just wanted to get it in there and get it planted, and then brag about it amongst their peers.
It seems ego is the motive behind many attacks over the internet. One British hacker, known as Cold Fire, keeps his real name secret.
Britain's most notorious hacker, and most people who were involved in the hacking community, and a lot of the people that were involved in the security industry would know my name straight away. I'd say I'm so famous in that group of people. Yeah, it feels great. Ask a film star how they feel about being famous.
Cold Fire earned the title of Britain's most notorious hacker after he electronically broke into the computers of one of the biggest mobile phone companies. He then rerouted calls from his phone so they were billed to other people.
Obviously, hacking is a criminal offence, and the people that are doing it need to remain anonymous. But not only that, you get a lot of jealousy from the kiddies trying to get up to your level, and they'd want to find out who you are, get more details on you, that sort of thing. So that's why most of us at the top would prefer to remain anonymous.
Analyzing the behavior of hackers like Cold Fire is a full-time job for Eric Raymond. He calls himself a hacker anthropologist. His work reveals a side of their culture and philosophy that's part of a bigger battle for cyber rights.
I describe myself as a wandering anthropologist and troublemaking philosopher, and for more than 20 years I've been part of the culture of internet hackers, and I've both functioned within that culture and tried to describe it to other people. Let's see, we've got the guest machine over here.
Eric is part of the core hacker tradition.
We have a fold-out bed down here where hackers sometimes stay when they come to visit, and we provide them with all the
They're driven by a clear set of ethics. They share their programs and resist domination by big commercial software companies. Hackers like Eric rarely stray into systems where they're not invited.
I haven't done anything like that since 1977. There have been once or twice since then that I have broken into systems just to verify that a vulnerability was there, but proper hacker courtesy is to immediately notify the system administrators that the hole is present and how to plug it.
He studies his subjects like they are part of a remote and colorful tribe, but he doesn't like what all of them do. In fact, he tries to disown those like Coldfire and Captain Zap who give hackers a bad name. What's more, he wants them renamed. Not hackers, but crackers.
Crackers are people who break into computer systems and commit vandalism and computer crime. They're generally neither very bright nor very skilled. You can distinguish them from hackers by the fact that they typically use pseudonyms or handles to describe their identities. Hackers don't do this. But the real difference is more fundamental. Hackers make things. Crackers only know how to break them.
The Hacker's Bible, written by Eric, is a new kind of dictionary that sums up the hacker ethic he wants the world to understand. But Eric's battle to give the outlaws a good name has launched him into a war of words with another dictionary. In Oxford, the use of the word hacker is being reassessed for the next edition of the oldest and biggest dictionary in the English language, the Oxford English Dictionary. Nick Shearing is a senior assistant editor for the OED.
I think most people who use English throughout the world would understand a hacker to be someone who breaks into a computer system.
But this is a misuse of the word according to Eric, and he's determined to fight for his definition.
Hackers build software. They maintain the internet. Hackers are the culture that invented the World Wide Web as we know it today. We make stuff and we improve the world.
It's very hard to make people choose a certain word to describe a phenomenon when there is already a word existing, which unfortunately for people who object to hacker being used is hacker.
The culture of internet hackers owns the word hacker and a lot of the slang that's associated with it. And the fact that people outside that culture use it incorrectly is not a warrant to change its meaning.
Despite Eric's mission, the exploits of those with less than honorable intentions seem to have demonized all hackers.
A hacker is somebody who enters the system without authorization.
Hackers today are electronic juvenile delinquents.
I don't like being confused with a group of people who, by and large, I think are incompetent and unimaginative.
Eric fears for the future of cyber rights if the public doesn't learn the difference between hackers, simply out to make mischief, and the computer criminals he calls crackers.
I think it's important for people to understand that the culture of computer hackers is a benign one. Otherwise, to the extent that we're confused with criminal crackers, we become a justification for bad laws and for censorship and repression.
John Perry Barlow is a former songwriter for the Grateful Dead and the joint founder of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which lobbies for cyber rights. He shares Eric's concerns for the future of free speech on the internet.
What we're dealing with is the battle between the future and the past, between the powers that were and the powers that have yet to be.
John believes the internet will change the world, much like the Industrial Revolution did at the end of the 19th century. He has crafted his own Declaration of Independence for the citizens of cyberspace.
Governments of the industrial world, I come from cyberspace, the new home of mind. On behalf of the future, I ask you of the past to leave us alone. You are not welcome here. You have no sovereignty where we gather. You do not know us, nor do you know our world. Cyberspace does not lie within your borders. Your legal concepts of property, expression, identity, movement, and context do not apply to us. They are all based on matter, and there is no matter here.
This philosophy has led John into a new battle. John and the Electric Frontier Foundation are supporting one of the most widespread and controversial forms of hacking.
The hot commodity is stolen movies.
The target? Hollywood. Fans of Star Wars could hardly wait for Episode 2 to make it to the big screen. As the clock struck midnight, it opened on May the 16th, 2002. Some had camped out for 2 nights to be first in line for a ticket.
27 hours.
18 hours. Yeah.
But more than a week before the much-anticipated opening night, hackers had already seen the movie and were trading it on the internet in chat rooms like this one. Once electronic pirates have stolen the movie, the hackers distribute it by breaking into the pipelines powering the internet.
This is not just piracy. This depends on hacking because the commodity is the bandwidth. Pirates have to use what we refer to as the big pipes, the multi-gigabit internet backbone connections to transfer data. I've heard one major internet ISP referred to as the blockbuster video of the internet because their computers are so fast, so easy to hack, it's the best place to get movies.
To help them fight back, Hollywood has cast a former FBI agent as their leading man. Ken Jacobson has a tough role. Almost every movie released by the Big 7 studios is made available on the web by hackers.
It's incredibly common. We have discovered that almost all of our movies, whether they are blockbusters or just regular movies, are up on the internet within 24 to 48 hours after the movie opens in the theaters in the United States.
As the heroes of the movie battle it out on the big screen, the outlaws of cyberspace are fighting a battle of their own.
It is certainly a hacker's battle. The hackers are the closest thing we have to troops outside of the lawyers that EFF employs to take the motion picture industry and the record industry to court. The hackers are the people who are literally going out there and breaking the encryption codes and unbottling the stuff that needs to be accessible to everybody.
It amazes me because these are people who would never ever consider walking into a Tower record store or some other record store or a video store and walking out with a stolen CD or a stolen DVD or a stolen video cassette. But actually we'll go up on the internet and we'll take exactly the same product and we'll decide that it should be free and that it's not a theft that's occurred.
The fight continues between the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the studios. But for the time being, the modern band of mischief-making outlaws appear to be getting away with it. As the first generation of teenage hackers reach their 40s, the battle between the angels and the outlaws has created a market for their skills. Captain Zapp has decided to cash in by switching sides. He has reinvented himself as Ian Murphy, security specialist.
The embodiment of Captain Zapp with a business viewpoint. I'm a hacker. You might as well hack life to its fullest.
We will create a civilization of the mind in cyberspace. May it be more humane and fair than the world your governments have built before.
I'm not saying that I've ever hacked, but I can understand the thrill firsthand.
If you take a good close look at your average security person, he's a former black hat. I mean, in almost every case, you know, who still actually understands the thrill of it.
Some people like to bungee jump, some of them like to parachute, some of them like to, you know, do all kinds of strange things, but hackers, it's a rush. I'm sure they do it for the rush effect.
Do I think it's a good thing to do? No. Do I want my kids doing it? No. But can I sort of understand it? Yeah, I think I can.
Your mind's going 100 miles per hour behind the scenes. You're thinking, I could be doing this, I could be doing that, I could exploit that, I could do this, I could do that. And you can't sit still and not think about that. It's always there in the back of your mind. You just need to do it.
Like many conflicts, the battle between the ethical and the illegal hackers is a war between people who speak the same language, use the same tools, and play the same games.
It's great. It's a wonderful thing to do, and it's like permanent employment as well.
We will spread ourselves across the planet so that no one may arrest our thoughts.